Hey, Catherine.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Good.
Have you been working on your mindset lately?
That's an ongoing, eternal, perpetual task. Yes.
Yes. That is, yeah, it does not end, that's for sure. Hey, Ellie, or Elle, I don't know if I'm saying it right. What is something that that you've been able to consistently do daily for your mindset, Catherine?
One of the things I popped into a house room that is hosted by someone I'm blessed to have as my bestie. And it is just a half hour, and it's I declare declarations. So she goes through 30 declarations while everyone's listening, and then we come to the stage and if we desire and share our own. So that's just been peeling back the layers, just dealing with self-talk and doubt. I'm very careful about the words I select. For quite some time now, years, am very cautious about using absolute terms. Like I always, I never, or I'm the only one. Hold up. So just making sure that I stay aligned with what's on the inside of me, which is going to be the drive to keep me to take me to my best version, that's the ongoing thing. So just being mindful of my self-talk, the things I'm telling myself. And sometimes I find I have to peel back the layers to do that, and just listening to other people and understanding that if anything bothers me or disturbs me or even vexes me, to some degree, that thing or that person is mirroring something in me. So.
Yeah, that is something that I came to understand, is that if something that somebody's doing is annoying me or just having like any negative feeling, I'm like, okay, what is it exactly that they're doing? Now, do I do this? Because a lot of times, if you strongly don't like what somebody's doing, there's a very large chance that you yourself do it. And that's when I do my best to then work on it. If it's something that it's like, okay, this needs some work, then I will definitely work on it. So yeah, being mindful as well is very important. Being mindful of your choice of words, very important when it comes to yourself and others. And I remember when I first started being mindful of that, I was like so excited the times when I did notice it. Sorry, an alarm go off, but the times when I did notice it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm so proud of myself, And just so everybody knows, I am live on Facebook and on YouTube as well, just so that way, I can reach more people. So if anybody has any questions on mindset or any statements on mindset, feel free to make a comment or unmute your mic and speak. But yeah, how long have you been working on your mindset, Catherine?
I'm 61. I've been on Earth 61, in the Earth 61 years, and I was wired to be very introspective. So probably most of my life, but consciously, intentionally, at least a decade, at least that.
That's good.
I'd say decades.
That's good. I'm like speaking and I forgot that I had my mic muted. But that's good because at one point, like you said that you were basically always been mindful, but you've been like actually mindful of being mindful for, you said, a couple of decades.
I'd say, yeah, I'd say at least 20 years.
Yeah. That's awesome that you've been able to be mindful in the first place, because it took me I think I didn't start being mindful until I was like, I'm 28 now. I had to think about that. I'm 28. And I didn't start being mindful until I was like 23.
There's so many levels. There's just so many levels, and for me, it's such a connection to my soul. I believe that my belief is that our spirits are eternal and our souls are ancient. So just being still, to be mindful, and there's just so many levels of that. Some of it has to do with, I think, the environment that shaped us, that nurtured us. Hopefully, I have 3 siblings. I'm in the middle, so I had the opportunity to look at an older sibling and my parents, but also look at the ones that are younger than me. So I was always very quiet, or initially I would say I was quiet and just very introspective, probably with a little, some people they probably thought I was kind of weird, even in my family. So from my earliest memory, I always was just a little, little different.
Being different is such a good time too. Hey, Elle, is it Elle or Ellie?
It's Elle.
You said, but your name is Jeanette? Janelle. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just go by Elle right now.
Okay.
Let me talk about mindset. I just recently started to be mindful of that because my daughter, she's about to have her first child. And, you have to parent adult children differently. And even though my daughter feels as though she's grown because, she has her own place now. She just moved out, this past December. You're still not grown in my eyesight, because I'm still helping you out, financially in certain ways. You're still not grown. However, with the mindset of that, she feels as though that I'm getting into her business. And when she said that, that automatically sent me back to childhood with my mother, when I was on my own and my mom was still financially helping me out in certain ways. And, well, what am I paying this bill for? And I want to know how come you didn't pay it. So it's like, you're getting in my business. So communicating with my daughter, and now she's about to be a mother. I have to be mindful of how I approach her when it comes to certain things like that. I want to help her because she's young. We don't have it all at a young age. And she's a full-time student, full-time job, and she's about to become a mother. And I'm like, let me help you. But I have to realize that if I'm helping, do I really have the right to ask why? Could you answer that?
If you're helping, do you have the right to ask why?
Right to ask why am I helping you, to the point where, why didn't you do this? Because I told you this is how it's supposed to be done. How come you didn't take heed? You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I'm not a mother, so I don't know if this is like 100% right. But in my opinion, if you choose to help someone, you can, in my opinion, you can ask, like, if you, like, is it okay for me to ask this? Like, if you don't want to answer, that's fine, But otherwise, just not bite your tongue, but I would say like journal on it just to be able to release it. But if it's like a judging kind of thing, then I personally would keep it to myself, because at the end of the day, whether you're getting frustrated or not, you are choosing to help them. So then it comes in like, okay, no matter what, I'm going to help you. So if you're delivering something useful to her, be okay with whether or not she takes that advice, whether or not she receives what it is that you're telling her.
Okay, gotcha.
Does anybody else have something to say on that?
I do. Hi, Elle. Hello, Catherine. What came to me was, I'm just kind of wired to get to the root of things. And that's for, I think, at least for me, I see it as being that's a lifetime quest. When we're doing things for our children or grandchildren, it comes back to the why. And are you doing it out of a sense of dedication or obligation? Because this is a season for a lot of people that want to show up as their best version, for really unapologetically putting yourself first, especially as women. So, sometimes the most generous givers can be a little bit controlling too. So are you doing it? It's like, what is woven into you helping her or you supporting her? Because it sounds like you're mostly referring to something financial. Is that correct? Correct. Yeah. Which I don't mind, because Catherine, you know me. Okay. Yes. I'm a giver. And that's what I do. I don't expect anything in return or anything like that. But when it comes to my kids, I just feel as though I just want to know why you didn't take heed to what I told you a couple of months ago. Now we're at this point. You understand what I'm saying? So, I don't mind helping her financially, because, it's a struggle because she's young, has her own place, and she's doing her thing, you know what I mean? Because, we all needed help at some point in our lives or whatever. And because she, the things that I do for her is basically for my grandson, because I don't want her to struggle, period. Because been there, done that. So if you need help, come and ask me, and then that's that. But when I say something to you prior to us getting to this point, then I have a problem, because you didn't listen to me. Do you understand? I understand wholeheartedly. I understand wholeheartedly. That's why I said what I said. So a lot of times it's just really pausing to dig in. Relationships of any kind take work. We're all under construction. She's getting ready to have a baby. Come on now. She has a whole nother person in her body. So it sounds like there's just, as for most of us, and I know how it's been for me, there's a lot there. There's a lot to dig into, and a lot of different ways to dig into it. But what I'm learning on a daily basis, if I'm doing something that's going to cause me any kind of regret or angst or frustration, I'm learning to dial back from that. Even if it's just to pause to figure it out, like we were saying earlier. Why does that bother me? Why does that vex me? Why is that frustrating me? What in me is bubbling up or welling up and coming out? It's like, what? There's a lot there. There's a lot there. She's and you were saying, if you're grown, exactly. If you're grown and adulting, sometimes things do need to be kind of rigid and just black and white. And it doesn't mean that it has to be like that, forever. But sometimes you have to dial it back. Right. I hear you. I'm gonna have to dial it back a lot because that baby's gonna be fine. Oh yeah, the baby's gonna be fine, but I think I'm doing too much. But okay, boom. Okay, I'm done. Okay.
That was great, Catherine. Thank you for that. Natasha, did you want to say something?
I was not prepared for how unexpectedly triggering Elle's question was. I am an adult that I do not have a great relationship with my parents. And I come from a standpoint of many times parents pretend not to know. Pretend that they weren't teenagers and 20-somethings and 30-somethings and they made mistakes, and that's just the human experience. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to have some missteps. You're going to think that you can handle something, but in actuality, you can't. And then there's a situation that you now need to handle. I also I'm aware of how parents use their support to be manipulative. And it is, okay, I'm going to help you, but now I got to have all access to every part of the inner workings of your life to have an ability to give my opinion and wreck your peace. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, Elle, but it is you're right. You've got to parent adult children differently so that you are present enough, respecting their adulting, emerging adulting, that you are cognizant of their ability to choose a path that's best for them, but also not to create a relationship where they feel that your support is transactional. Like, I'm gonna support you if you do everything that I say. And people make mistakes, and I've seen I lived the extreme with parents doing too much and taking away their support because they didn't feel like they had enough say-so in their life. So I wasn't expecting that to come up in me, but I did. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Yeah, Natasha, I have to agree with you. When my daughter said that, oh, you're getting into my business, that was a trigger for me because, when my mom said, I used to do things for me, and I said that to her. But hindsight is 2020. I don't feel as though that I'm getting into her business because I don't ask her. I don't get into her business. If she asks me, oh, Mom, could you do this for me? I just go ahead, and if I have it, I just go ahead and get it done for her, and that's just the end of it. So by her saying that I'm getting into her business, I don't see how I am, because I refuse to be that type of mother that my mom was to me. However, there is a however. If you want your children to do better than you did, okay, so been there, done that. Same situation, different people, but the same outcome. That's why I want her to take heed to what I'm saying the first time, and then we just wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now. If we would just take heed to our parents, we would just listen and understand where the parents are coming from, and not feel as though that we're trying to be all in their business, then the world will be a better place. I don't know. And I don't heartily agree with that. Because I think there's a lot of things that my parents wished I did or were pressuring me to do across my life, and they thought that it was best for me, and it wasn't. And that's the delicate relationship that, there is a transition, parent to child, and then parent to child. There's a transition there. Yes. And it requires a shift, not only in the mind of the parent, but also in the mind of the child. And this extends beyond just like who you date and, who are your friends. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Careers and, spirituality. And I think that many parents, and from my own experience, many parents don't know their adult child. They know their child, but they're not yet seeing the adult that their child has become. And that's where a lot of challenges, in my experience, have come up.
Hey, Elle, have you taken the time to sit down with your daughter and try to understand where it is that she's coming from and like why she feels that you are getting in her business if you feel that you're not?
Yeah, actually, we have. And still, I do not see how I'm getting in her business because she comes to me with, with questions, and she wants my opinion on things. But here's the difference, I guess. If she comes to me, if she wants my opinion, I grant it, okay? But if I see that something is going on and I give my opinion that wasn't solicited, then she has a problem with it. So
yeah, that's a lot of us. And I feel like a lot of times we just naturally want to give our opinion without it being asked. And that's something that I've recently been working on. I'm still haven't gotten that great at it, but I'm working on it because it's sometimes people just want you to listen without judgment. And as far as you wanting her to take heed in what it is that you've already told her and what you've explained the outcome could possibly be, sometimes, and this is very unfortunate because I see it in my nephew, is like, I'm literally just trying to help you. And I know that as a kid, you're not seeing it this way. But trust me, when you get older, you'll understand. And I remember I couldn't stand when my parents used to tell me that. But it's so true. But if nobody, no matter whether it's your child, your young child, your adult child, or somebody else in the world, you can give them whatever information you want. You can tell them exactly how the outcome is going to go. But if they don't want to take on the information that you've given, they're not going to. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's like the most frustrating thing. Yes. But you have to allow them to make their mistakes. And hopefully you saying what you said will eventually resonate with them. And then they will move accordingly.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So, Natasha, what is it that you've been working on with your mindset so far? Your main focus, maybe.
Great question. What have I been working on? Caring different, not caring less, but just caring different and watching, being aware of where and how I care. That's really been my focus over the last few weeks and months. There's a lot of things that remain on my mind and in the past. And now I'm just not having it. Pushing past a lot of the limitations, self-imposed limitations and fears. That's pretty much where I've been for much of, all of 2021.
Okay, that's good. So caring different. I like how that sounds. So what exactly do you mean by that? Because I know that you said that you basically don't want to dwell on certain things. But how do you go about when you notice yourself falling back into the old habit of caring the way that you used to care? Like, how do you go about switching it to caring differently?
Great question. I look at it as a tennis match or a volleyball. When a thought comes into my mind, for example, what will people think? What will people say? Maybe you should reword that email or say it a little bit differently. Much of my life, I've been a people pleaser and thinking of everyone's feelings. So when those thoughts come to mind, I simply counter it with the other thought of, no, Natasha, I trust you to say and do what is in your best interest at all times. And you do not have to sugarcoat or spray Febreze. And most importantly, you are permitted to do whatever maintains your peace.
Oh, I like that. That is great. So basically just telling yourself, like, I trust that what you are choosing to say or what you're choosing to do is what's best for you.
That's exactly it.
That's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and take that on.
Natasha, I spoke your name. Is that what drew you into this room? Actually, no, I was, I'm teasing. It's okay. I've been, laying down all morning, taking an unapologetic day off. So I guess that would be an extension of me caring differently. Today people say that Friday, it's a work day, it's part of the work week. There's things you can do. No, Natasha wants rest today. I don't have headaches frequently, so when I do, I'm paying attention.
Hey, Pamela.
And I'm going to just chill for the day. That's me caring differently. Instead of caring about all of the people who may want to speak to me today or want an email from me or want a plan. No, Natasha's going to lay in bed, alternate between TikTok, ClubHouse.
We're discussing mindset.
Turn on the TV and just unapologetically chill. Asked me when I first came into the room, what was, that, how have I been working on my mindset? I talked about your I deserve declarations, that has made a big difference. So I had just spoken that a few moments before you came in the room, and they're like, I know Elle from way back. So I'm just glad for this space. Thank you, Akila.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, the I deserve. You mentioned it, so I'll share. One of my pet peeves are people who enter other people's rooms and use it as well, let me tell you about me, and I've got this club at 4 and this club at 7 and this club at 9, and they just completely take over. It vexes me when people do that, so I'm intentional never to do that, but you all are all welcome. 7 a.m. throughout the rest of this month, 7 a.m. Eastern time. I just share 30 I deserve statements, and then we all go around the room and share what our one I deserve is. And mine for the last several months, probably a year, has been about my peace. Now, I've got a very clear line for my peace and the things and people that I allow in my life. You are either contributing to my peace. You're making me laugh, making me smile, we're making money, we are chilling together, or you contaminate the peace that I already have. And that is unacceptable. That is, I'm just unavailable for that type of energy. I quickly disconnect, disengage, revoke your all access pass. If anything contaminates the peace that I have, because I'd rather lose you than lose my mind.
That is the truth. That is something I've been very mindful of, is who I surround myself with, because I don't have the time for my energy to be drained in like a negative way, because I can have my energy drained in a positive way. And that's just being around a lot of energetic people or people in general. I need to take my time and remove myself and like come into a cave and just be with myself. But when it comes to like my energy being drained negatively, like I'm just no, I can't I can't be around you. I'm gonna step back, like, because I can't handle it.
And I will even say that all of that obviously is, just pouring into me and resonating with me and helping me shift as far as protecting my peace, our peace. And that goes for people who came out of my womb, Elle. That goes for them too. I hear you. For them too. That goes for them too. And boundaries. And absolutely. I believe that it's each person's birthright to set them, edit them, maintain them, fortify them, whatever you need to do. This is Earth School for all of us. And our children are loaned to us. And I'm not talking about, of course, everyone's experience is different, but I'm coming from, some of it, Elle. I'm coming from an experience where this is not something I read. I had to push through decades of things concerning children and relationships. And I've come to this point where, however I need to work it out, I'm not going to let anyone disturb my peace. Nope. I hear that and I receive it.
Elle, what has been your one of your focuses when it comes to mindset? Like, what have you been working on?
Let's see. I've been, honestly, I have been, if you can understand what I'm saying, the tone, when I respond to something that I don't agree with or frustrates me. So I find myself now communicating in a much lower tone, but still getting my point across, but not seeming to be, angry when I do that. So I have to be slow to answer and quick to listen. That's what that saying is. And I find that to be much beneficial to me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. The tone, being mindful of tone, that is something that I have been working on. Of course, when it comes to my family, it's a struggle to be mindful of my tone, just because I know that they know that I don't have ill intent when I speak to them. And obviously, sometimes on both ends, we forget that the other does not have ill intent. But when it comes to speaking to other people, it just naturally, I don't, not always, but sometimes, like 90% of the time, I'm mindful of my tone without even being mindful. But if you are somebody who I've spent plenty of time with, for some reason, it goes into like not being mindful of it. And I may come off like strong or rude. And I'm trying to change the story of that's just how I am. Because I feel like a lot of us struggle with, oh, that's just how I am. They know how I am. And instead of working on how we are. So I'm proud of you for working on your tone.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Natasha, how long have you been working on your mindset?
Forever. Forever is what it feels like. You know, it is it's a daily job. I've always been self-aware all my life. I do not recall, even as a child, I don't recall a time when I wasn't cognizant of my behavior. I was a different child. I was the weird child. So I've always been aware of me and how I interact with other people and how other people receive me, how I interact with God. So I've always been on this journey, you know, to the point of tone. You know, I've resolved within myself that I am not a mean person and that I am a good human. I've resolved that a long time ago. And there are few times when my tone is harsh, and in that moment, I almost immediately recognize, ooh, okay, well, that came out strong, and I'm able to course correct. I'm able to correct myself. And there are some times when my tone is harsh and I allow it to be because it's necessary. It's usually someone pushing on one of my boundaries. I have never ascribed to them. That's the way I am. I think, you know, I am an Aries. I am fiery. I am a quadruple Aries, if you are into that. So my sun, moon, rising, Venus, all Aries. So I'm fire all the time. Passionate. I love everything. I'm either 100% into it or I'm on my way out. And that's still not a reason for me to be harsh with people, unnecessarily harsh, and to yell and to be aggressive and to come up to bring my full undiluted insecurities or fears or whatever to another person. It's not an excuse. You know, after 2020, I think we've all been through something. We've all had a tough time, and having a tough time still doesn't give us license to be mean and rude and harsh. So I've been working on me forever, and I work on me every day because I'm with me 24 hours a day. There's not a moment when I'm not with me. And and I kind of like it. I kind of like working on me. It's one of my favorite things to do, and that's what this room and these clubhouse rooms and taking a day off on a Friday afternoon when nothing is. If I'm not sick, I'll just call it a mental health day, and I love it.
Yes, taking time for yourself. Number one, it just feels so good. And number two, it's always worth it. And people feel that they have to wait to the weekend in order to have that time. But it's like, I mean, obviously, people who have children and people who work a 9 to 5 don't necessarily have the option to just take off whenever they want. But for those who do, oh my God, appreciate it because it's a good time just to be like, you know what? No, like I'm going to listen to my body and I'm going to sit back and take a break. It's good. Um, what I did want to say when you said, you said something and I was just like, oh, you said that being mindful and working on yourself every day is something that you really enjoy. I am the same way. Like my sister, I think she's like driving right now. Her name's Francesca up here, but when when I talk about personal growth or personal development and just doing something that I'm going to be working on myself with, I get so excited and her and my nephew will look at me like I'm crazy, but it's like something I truly enjoy and it's exciting to me because I'm like, oh my, like this is another thing that I get to work on. This is something that I get to improve on. And I feel so good doing things like meditating or saying affirmations and journaling. So I get really excited when I speak on those as well and when I do those. So I can definitely relate to you when you say it's like it's a good time. Francesca, are you still driving?
I am, but I can still answer the question. So the thing I'm working on right now, more is basically listening to understand versus listening to respond. I have a lot of issues with past traumas and how they affected me negatively. So usually when someone's trying to respond and I get like those past traumas that pop up, I'm always in defense mode. So I'm trying to focus on not being so defensive on a lot of things, watching my tone and making sure that I'm letting someone actually speak, which is funny because when you used to do that to me, and I'm like, dang, why are you so quiet? Like, respond to me. You're like, well, I'm trying to think. So now I find myself doing that, and like even my friends would be like, did you hear me? I was like, oh yeah, I heard you. I'm just trying to think of a way to help you out, but I was listening to you wholly, so I wasn't thinking about responding at any point. So now I'm thinking on it, and then I would respond. So that's been really different, and it's helping me a lot because there are some things that I'm quick to defend myself or go on attack, and I've noticed that usually when I smoke, marijuana, but when it calms me down and I'm able to separate all the jumbleness in my mind, because when I'm heated or if I'm upset, like I just have so many things going off in my mind, and now I'm able to like relax and figure out like, okay, my perspective, their perspective, and the outside perspective of like what someone else would see if they were viewing this transaction or interaction. So it's been weird, but I mean, I'm enjoying it because it helps me break down a lot of things that I normally would have attacked. And now I'm just like, okay, well, I can see their opinion. I can understand why they feel the way they do. And I mean, it's helped me a lot.
Yeah, you've definitely grown a lot, and I'm proud of you for growing as much as you have because I have seen a difference. Um, Now the next question that I have is, how are you when it comes to boundaries? How have y'all, anybody can respond, but how do you feel when you hear boundaries, and do you set boundaries easily?
Didn't used to set boundaries easily, but I set them much more easily than I used to. And some of that is came to the surface during 2020. I was infected with COVID. But because of that, or connected to that, I wasn't working. I was on a leave of absence, which I refer to as a sabbatical mostly. And just from the benefit of being able to be still and not be pressured, I began to, from the inside, it was impressed in me to set boundaries because it's critical, it's essential. And being, Natasha mentioned being a people pleaser, being a reformed people pleaser from childhood. Not that I was reformed from childhood, but during my childhood and a good portion of my adult life, I would be what I refer to as a people pleaser. And now I just see how that just that doesn't work for me. That will shave years off my life. So me setting boundaries, it's a requirement. It's a requirement for my life. I'm quick with it. Quick draw McGraw. Now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, not so good. But today, I set them. I set them preemptively. So
hey, Cass.
And Black people.
We're talking about mindset, and at this very moment, we're discussing setting boundaries. Like, do you easily set boundaries, and like, how do you feel when it comes to setting boundaries?
In real life, I block people. I will watch my cell phone ring and feel nothing about it. And my me today is the last 5 years in the making, recognizing that I have permission to disconnect and disengage. Everyone doesn't get to have access to me, and that doesn't make me mean. And in addition to being a former people pleaser, I was also a former nice girl. I grew up with that label from birth. Tasha's nice. She's a nice girl. She's so nice. She's a nice girl. And the narrative attached to nice is that I was always giving everyone what they wanted it, and neglecting what I needed in the moment. I placed people's needs and wants above my own. I don't do that anymore. And I'm grateful for the parts of me that are 100% unapologetic with how people receive my boundaries. I don't care. How you feel about it, that's what it is. It's what's best for me. So that's one area that I'm doing well. Thank you. Natasha, I want to be like you. When did I start my boundaries? I guess I started boundaries really and truly.
And Cass, I'm on ClubHouse, so you can easily type anything that you want to say, and I will say it out loud.
About 5 years ago.
Be better at seeing my
But the past 2 years, I have been in full force of my boundaries. And sometimes the boundaries that I have, they come across as me being rude, nasty, so matter of fact. I don't really give a crap. I mean, it is what it is. That's going to give me peace of mind for me to be able to sit in my own home and be okay with my decisions that I had made, and then I'm okay with it. So if you don't like it, then you can kick rocks with flip flops on. So it is what it is. So I feel as though my boundaries are: if you don't like it, then there's something that you need to do to make yourself feel better about my boundaries. I guess if that's a way of things to happen to make sure that you're okay as well with the boundaries that I set. That is all. And I really struggle with setting boundaries. I think Catherine said, I'm a big people pleaser because I don't really want to burn bridges on any aspect, which if it burns, it's not on my end, you know what I mean? Because I'll keep trying, but there's certain situations that, like for my work environment, I don't set any boundaries when I should, because then I get used and then I have to work shifts that I'm not supposed to be. Or I'm a dog sitter, so people will say one thing and then they'll change their mind last minute, and I'm nervous, okay, how do I say, I'll ask my sister Akila, hey, how do I say this in a nice way? And then she'll be like, no, just tell them this is what you said, and just reiterate, this is what our conversation was, and this is how we're going to proceed. But I always get scared because I'm like, okay, well, if I say it this way, then they will get upset with me. So I'm still working on that. It's just really, really hard.
Yeah, setting boundaries is not something that's easy to do. But once you notice yourself, once you're able to be mindful of setting the boundaries, and you realize that like you're not dead after you've said it and after you've spoken up for yourself, you're like, oh, okay, like I can do this. And over time, you just, I don't know about everybody else, but over time, I have felt better um, than when I would just do something just because I didn't want to make the other person be upset with me. So I personally have gotten a lot better with boundaries. There's only one person in my life, which is my best friend, who I do struggle with setting boundaries with, but I do set them. But that's somebody I still am working on. Because I've been best friends with her since 8th grade. So that's like that is just a lot of work. I feel like it's easier to set boundaries with people that you don't know or haven't known for that long than people you've known for a while, but it is still possible. So I know that I will do it and I can do it. Now, another question that I have is um how did you go about, because I believe everybody here is either a reformed people pleaser or a people pleaser. So what is some advice you can give to somebody who is trying to no longer be a people pleaser?
Mine would be to do the hard and necessary work in the front end. When I used to see clients daily, I used to work with vocational rehabilitation and would see clients to help them find and maintain employment. Sometimes it'd be the client who's a child or a client and their parent. And I don't know, very stronger than detest and loathe.
Cass, do you know why you haven't been able to follow through on your goals?
I don't like when people are late. It just feels like disrespect to me. And so what I did is, in the very beginning, when we went over our engagement agreement, one of the things that I outlined that they had to sign was that our meeting started on time, and they were expected to be on time, ready, computers out, etc. At 10 minutes, they were considered late, and I'm leaving. So even if they walk in at 11 minutes past the hour, I'm still leaving because you should have been there on time. So you get your 10-minute courtesy and grace, but per the document that you signed, and I refer to the document, this is what you agreed to, and this is what's going to be enforced. I realize that when you relax your boundaries, even once, it's almost permission for people to want to relax it again and again and again. And so the people pleasing for me, until I got to a place where I just really didn't care how you felt about me walking out at 2:11, was referring back to the document that they signed that we mutually agreed to, and allowed that to direct how we engage and how we move forward. I also had to be divorced from the outcome, because I had some people complain and say, well, I was here and she was here, but she left. We could have just had a shorter meeting. No, what you could have done was call me or text me when you knew you were going to be late. And so I had to be divorced from the outcome of people not wanting to work with me anymore because they felt that I disrespected them. I had to be divorced from the outcome of people filing complaints or thinking that I'm rude, because what was more important was that I was respected. And I lost people, but the majority stayed, and we worked well together, and I was never was disrespected with their tardiness. So front end, the the behaviors that you want people to model with you and for you. Thank you.
Yeah, that is great. I liked when you said that you had to divorce from the outcome, because that is so true, because a lot of times you don't want to speak up for yourself or do something that you know needs to be done because of the fact that you don't want in the end whatever that repercussion would be. So divorcing from the outcome is very, very important. For me, I had to journal and try to better understand, why do I care what people think, and why am I putting their needs before myself, before my own mental I hope you can still hear me. It says poor connection, but um I had to break it down and just try to understand it. And over time, I was able to no longer care what people thought of me. And I went to zero cares. And now I am at the point where I care to a certain extent. Um I don't care enough to put myself at risk, but I care enough to be mindful of how I speak to people, and always just, speak to people with respect and not talk down on people in that way, because at one point I just really did not care. But yeah, journaling and breaking it down and just try to better understand why it is that I was a people pleaser. And I was talking to my sister about this yesterday. Like, if I felt like what I was going to say was going to make somebody mad, then I would keep it to myself, even if it wasn't me like attacking them or me being rude to them. It's just me speaking up. I would keep it to myself because I'm like, well, I don't want this person to be mad at me. I get over things easily. So if you snap at me, or if you annoy me with whatever you said, I'm going to be over it between 5 minutes and a day, if even a day. I don't even think I've lasted a day. Um, but I'll get over it. And I know that of myself. But when it comes to other people, I wasn't sure if we would no longer be cool anymore. And I was afraid of losing that friendship or that acquaintance. And then I got to the point when after journaling, I no longer cared, because if they truly want to be in my life, they'll take on what I'm saying and like receive it. They don't have to move according based on what I said, but they at least will know that my intent was not to harm them in any way and just to help. But yeah.
I learned, and I'm still learning, to lead with and trust my intuition instead of allowing people to come through my compassion. That was one of the major ingredients, bricks, building blocks for me setting clear boundaries. That's it, the gist of it for me too, Catherine. Intuition. I trust me. I trust me, and I trust what I notice, and I trust how I feel. And so it's easier for me to say, yeah, I don't like when people are late, and tell them, please don't be late, and put rules in place to ensure that if they are going to be late, they're calling me or sending me a text ahead of time. It's easier for me to do that. Or right now, I'm choosing to do that than to sit and silently seethe as I watch the clock go by because they're not on time. It's easier for me to say, hey, do we need to change the time of our meeting? Because we're supposed to start at 6, but typically you get here at 6:03. And I'm okay with changing it, but I want us to be able to start on time. I'd rather front end and say what I want and need initially than to be frustrated with myself for not speaking up. I don't like that feeling.
I missed that last part. You said you don't like what?
I don't like that feeling. of being upset with something that happened and I'm not speaking on it. Because they don't know until I tell someone that I really dislike when someone is late. They'll never know. And I'm the one just seething and annoyed and pissed off with myself. So I can't expect what I don't inspect. So in the beginning, we're going to go over all the rules of engagement. And later on, I can draw your attention back to what we agreed to. And that's in a professional setting. In everyday life, it's especially with family, they're going to test your boundaries every day in my family. But, I just reinforce it. I don't answer. I don't respond. I disengage. Or I don't engage you at all. And it works for me.
Yeah, professionally, I have in my contract that um if you're like a no call, no show, you don't get to like make up that session because if anything happens, like you have time to tell me, at least I would hope. Like obviously if it's an emergency to where it was quick, it just happened out of nowhere, like in the hospital or something like that, then obviously there's a pass just because they didn't expect it to happen. But um yeah, I don't like when people are late either. And if I'm going to be late, I always I always reach out to people in advance. And that's on the personal level because I'm not late when it comes to professional. But um yeah, so I agree with you, Natasha. Like speaking in advance, like just reach out to me. It's not that hard. Like reach out to me, let me know so I know that you're gonna be running late instead of like wondering like, hey, are they even gonna show up? Um, but yeah, trusting yourself and speaking up for yourself as opposed to just being like pissed off with yourself or on your own. That is something that I noticed that I did with my best friend. Like she would ask me to do something and I would do it, but the whole time that I'm doing it, I'm like just all these angry thoughts are occurring and it's like, dude, next time just say no or say whatever is like comes to mind, but there's no reason for me to, and this is me like literally talking to myself while I'm in the middle of it, just like basically trying to calm myself down, like next time do this and do that instead, and so that way I'm not in this position again.
It's the resentment and the bitterness after saying yes when I wanted to say no for me. I've sat with that too many times. I've taken on projects, volunteered for things because no one else was doing it, overextended my time because I thought it was a nice thing to do, and then have been resentful and bitter and irritated and angry. And that's not good for me either. So now I'm very comfortable with having hard stops. In fact, I start packing up and winding down at 10 minutes to the end of the session. I'm very okay with saying no. And until I could say no with my throat, I said no via text or no via email or not at this time. I won't be able to accommodate that. I can't fit it into my schedule, whatever it is. I always still no. But I had to get comfortable with that, and I'm in a good place now where it's easier than it's ever been. I've experienced times where I've been able to see how not setting boundaries and doing things and then regretting it later. I experienced how that actually has affected me physically, like caused a certain decline in my health and wellness. So it's again, I'm going to say it's essential. It's literally essential for my life and my quality of life for me to set boundaries and and be unapologetic to set boundaries with liberty. Truly.
Yeah, something that I heard recently on TikTok was no is a full sentence. And it took me a while to be able to say no without explanation because I always felt like I had to explain myself. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't need to explain why it's a no. It's just no. And that's what it is. And it could be a no, thank you. If you want to, if you feel as though no is unpolite, but you can say no and be okay because you know that in your heart, it wasn't like you said no and in your heart you truly wanted to do it or had time for it, I should say, because sometimes you want to do something, but you just don't have the time to and you can't spread yourself thin. But saying no and not feeling bad about it will get you really far. But that in itself takes time and takes practice. If you're starting off saying no and you feel guilty about it after, try to journal on it. To me, Natasha and Catherine, like journaling, affirmations, and meditation is something that I will always, always say to people, like with everything, like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? Really, if I was me, I would journal through it, work through it, say some affirmations, and then meditate on it as well, because those three are just will make you unstoppable and it'll just improve your life. Is there anything that anybody wanted to speak on before we end?
No, I just want to say thank you. That may sound, trite, especially, with Clubhouse, but I truly am appreciative for the spaces that people are carving out. So thank you, Kila.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me or us.
Same. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. It was a pause in my morning with the crowd. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. If y'all would like to go ahead and click the greenhouse, if you'd like to follow, I do this every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah, if you would like to go ahead and follow me on my Clubhouse, my Instagram is also linked in the bio, and then click the greenhouse to join. Natasha, when did you say that your group was?
It's every morning in March, 7 a.m. Eastern time. We go from 7 until 7:30 a.m. And one of the I deserves is I deserve to have my no stand without explanation. So you just when you shared about saying no without explanation, I was like, yes, that's one of my I deserves. Yeah, 7 a.m. Eastern time.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to do my best to try to be there. I usually don't wake up till 8 Eastern time, but I will try to be there for at least one of them because it sounds like it would be like a really good time. But I'm happy that that was one of yours as well. Like no without explanation, because it's something really hard to do, but it can be done. So yeah, thank y'all for your time. Thank you for your input. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Peace.
Bye. I hope that y'all enjoyed the live. If you're watching back at the recording, leave in the comments how you feel about the topics that we discussed, and I will definitely reply. So yeah, enjoy your day, set boundaries, no is a full sentence, and divorce from, I love that Natasha said that, divorce yourself from the outcome, and enjoy your day. Bye.